Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. So today we are back with another objection that has been leveled against Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi and the response that he has given to this objection. The objection relates to the prohibition of music. So it is alleged by our scholars that music is prohibited per se, and in the contention of Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi that there is not a single verse or narrative of the Prophet which prohibits music or singing in any way. In fact, if you look at some of the verses of the Quran and at the same time you look at some ahadith of the Prophet also, we shall duly look at them in our later sessions, that many ahadith actually corroborate this, that as far as music is concerned, it is not that it is prohibited per se, but it's only the evil use of music, only music which is vulgar, which is prohibited. As far as the Quran is concerned, the Arabic words which are found or used for the word music, which of course are ghina or ma'azif, they are common Arabic words, and at none of the places of the Quran will you find the word ghina or ma'azif being used and expressly prohibited. In fact, the nature of a prohibition is such that when the Quran prohibits something, it actually mentions that prohibited thing by name in very explicit words. If we look at, for example, the list of muharramat, which means the relations which are prohibited for marriage, we have a complete list of those relations. Similarly, another way of prohibiting by the Quran, or the way it prohibits, is that it mentions principles on the basis of which something stands prohibited, as is the case with the famous verse of Surah Araf, in which the 5 bases of prohibiting moral things are stated. So the Quran says, قُلْ إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ رَبِّيَ الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ وَالْإِثْمَ وَالْبَغْيَ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ وَأَن تُشْرِكُوا بِاللَّهِ مَا لَمْ يُنَزَّلْ بِهِ سُلْطَانًا وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. My Lord has only forbidden lewd acts, whether open or hidden, and usurping rights and wrongful oppression, and that you associate with God that for which He did not send down any sanction, and that you fabricate something about God that you know not. So basically, you can clearly see that the way in which the Quran would prohibit something is either in an express way, or it will give some principles on the basis of which this prohibition can be derived. Now, at the same time, he has also said that because of the fact that there are 4 instances or 4 verses which are generally presented by traditional scholars, according to which music stands prohibited because of these 4 verses, Ustaz Ghamidi has taken up each of these verses one by one and shown that basically this is not the case. Neither of these 4 verses can be cited to adduce the prohibition of music, and we shall take a look at these verses one by one. So the first of them is verse 6 of Surah Luqman, the 32nd Surah, and the term lahwul hadith basically is implied to mean the prohibition of music. The verse itself is وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. On the other hand, there are such people who also give preference to lahwul hadith so that they lead astray from God's path without any knowledge. All the famous mufassirun, in fact, all the known mufassirun, the commentators of the Quran, none of them has said that the word lahwul hadith actually refers to music. And we will take a look at some of these mufassirun, some of these scholars. For example, if we look at Tabari, I'm just going to summarize his view, what he has said, that among all these opinions, the correct one is that it means all those things which make a person indifferent to the way of God, from among those which God and His Messenger has stopped from listening to, because God has mentioned the words lahwul hadith in general terms and not mention something specifically. And this will remain like this until there comes an argument that says that it is specific to something like music or polytheism. This is what he has said, that the term lahwul hadith has been expressed as a general term, which means that all those things which take people away from the path of God or make that person indifferent, and there is nothing that specifies it. So this was Tabari. Now, Ustaz Ghamidi gives an example of Zamakhshari, who in his Tafsir al-Kashaf has also put forth something similar. So he said, Lahv refers to every evil thing that takes a person away from good and meaningful, like many people who sit at night to narrate tales and things that are baseless and conversations that are meaningless. jokes and absurd things like music and the teaching of a musician. After that, Ustaz Ghamidi gives another example, and this time he gives an example of a modern commentator of the Quran of recent times, and he is Ustaz Abul Ala Maududi. And he says that the words Lahul Hadith in the text imply such a thing as may allure and absorb a listener completely and make him heedless of everything else around him. Lexically, there is nothing derogatory in these words, but in custom and usage, they apply to evil and useless and vain things, such as gossip, nonsensical talk, joking and jesting, legends and tales, singing and merrymaking. He has also actually referred to an incident on the authority of Ibn Hisham. He says that Ibn Hisham has related on the authority of Ibn Ishaq that when the disbelievers of Mecca could not stop the message of the Prophet, peace be upon him, from spreading in spite of their best efforts, Nazar ibn Haris said to the people of the Quraysh, "The way you are counteracting this man will avail you nothing. He has lived a lifetime among you. Until now, he was the best of your men morally. He was the most truthful and the most trustworthy person among you. Now you say that he is a sorcerer, an enchanter, and a poet, and a madman? Who will believe all this? Don't the people know the way the sorcerers talk? Don't they know the enchanters and the way they conduct their business? Are they unaware of poetry and the states of madness? Which of these accusations applies to Muhammad, peace be upon him, by exploiting which you would turn the people's attention away from him? Look, I will tell you how to deal with him." Then he left Mecca for Iraq and managed to get from there legends and tales about the kings of Iran and Rustum and Isfandiar, and started to arrange tale-telling parties to distract people from the Quran and to absorb them in the tales. The same tradition has been cited by Wahidi in Asbab al-Nuzul on the authority of Kalbi and Muqatil, and according to Ibn Abbas, Nadr had brought singing girls also for the purpose. Whenever he heard that someone was coming under the Prophet's influence, he would impose a singing girl on him with the instruction, "Feed him and entertain him with your songs so that he is absorbed in you and distracted from the other side." Now, finally, Ustaz Ghamidi actually cites his own translation and his explanation of these verses. And he goes on to actually recite the whole paragraph in which this verse actually occurs. This is the first paragraph of Surah Sajda itself. It says, "This is Surah Alif Lam Mim. These are the verses of the book replete with wisdom. For those who are thorough in their deeds, they have been revealed as a guidance and mercy. These who are showing diligence in their prayer and paying zakat, and it is these who have firm conviction in the hereafter. It is these who are rightly guided by their Lord, and it is these who shall succeed. On the other hand, there are such people also who buy absurdities so that they lead astray from God's path without any knowledge and make fun of His revelations. It is these people for whom there is a humiliating torment. When any of them is recited these revelations of ours, he turns and walks away with great arrogance as if he has not even heard them, as if he is deaf. So give him glad tidings of a painful torment." The translation in the text telling us and showing us that none of the previous Mufassirun have regarded Lahwul Hadith or the connotation of Lahwul Hadith to be music per se. And all that can be gathered from here, and as has been surmised earlier also, is that if anything which distracts people away from the path of God, and these distractions could be anything, of course, when the time comes to be attentive to the message of God, any distraction, including music, could be something that is absolutely wrong. And for this also, Ustaz Ghamidi has given the example of trading. And trading is absolutely a lawful thing, but the Quran prohibited trading at the time of Jummah, at the time of the Friday prayer. So again, we can see that here too, it is the wrong use of trading or the wrong time in which trading was to be carried out that was prohibited. So in a very similar way, things which are legal and lawful, when they are used wrongly, they become unlawful. Now we come up to the second instance or the second verse which people generally use in favor of the prohibition of music. And the translation of this verse is,
واستفزز من استطعت منهم بصوتك وأجلب عليهم بخيلك ورجلك وشاركهم في الأموال والأولاد وعدهم وما يعدهم للشيطان إلا غرورا.
And tempt with your call all whom you wish. Muster against them all your forces, your cavalry and your foot soldiers. Share with them riches and offspring, and seduce them with rosy promises. And Satan's promise is nothing but deception. So here in this verse, basically what is being said in favor of the prohibition of music is that the word sautika, which means your sound, your voice. And once again, he takes a look at the earliest of Mufassirun, of course, Tabari being one of them. And Tabari, while citing this verse, then says, the most correct opinion in this matter is that it be said, indeed, God, the Blessed, the Mighty, said to Satan, lead away the progeny of Adam, the ones you can, through your call. Here, God is not referred to some specific call or voice. Thus, every voice or sound that invites a person to Satan and to his actions and to his obedience, and it will be against the voice that calls towards the obedience of God. All this will be included in the sound about which God, the Blessed and the Mighty, has said, وَاسْتَفْزِزْ مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ مِنْهُمْ بِصَوْتِكَ. And then, once again, Ustaz Ghamidi gives us the example of Kashaf. Of course, the author is Zamashri. And once again, the relevant part of Kashaf is these words have come as a parable in which the situation of Satan, when he dominates a person, he hijacks, is compared with a plunderer who attacked a nation and created a commotion that caused people to come out of their homes in fear and exit their central places. The word call here does not at all mean music. It actually refers to a situation of Satan, that he dominates a person and then he creates a noise and a commotion that causes people to come out of their homes in fear and come out of their places. And then Ustaz Ghamidi cites the example of Ustaz Al-Mawrid. You may sweep away those whom you find superficial and weak-minded. That is what Ustaz Mawdudi says. Ustaz Ghamidi says that as far as he himself is concerned, his translation would be that whoever among you can overpower, make them anxious with your commotion, bring upon them your riders and pedestrians, become a partner in their wealth and children, and make promises with them. In reality, the promises Satan makes with them are nothing but deception. Now we come to the third verse, which is used by people to adduce the prohibition of music. And this is the word azur in verse 72 of Surah Al-Furqan, which says, وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَشْهَدُونَ الزُّورَ وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِاللَّغْوِ مَرُّوا كِرَامًا. And those who do not bear witness to any falsehood, and who, when they pass by frivolity, pass by it with dignity. So once again, Ustaz Ghamidi says that let us turn to the earliest of the Mufassirun, Tabari himself, and you'll find that the word zur actually is a very common Arabic word to mean something that is a lie, something which is a falsehood. Nowhere in the dictionary that you can find the word zur to mean music. So Tabari says, they are not part of any gathering in which there is any wrongdoing, any act of polytheism, any music, any falsehood, and any other things of similar type, and everything that can be called a lie, because God has stated this in general terms that are not present in any gathering or falsehood. It is not appropriate for anyone to specify it with any of these things, except if that person has a certain argument that must be accepted from any religious or any intellectual argument, which means that this verse zur can in no way be specified to anything. So it cannot be specified as an act of polytheism or music or falsehood and things, unless, of course, there is a specific argument in favor of that. The word zur cannot in any way be ascribed or meant to connote music. One possibility is that it means that the servants of the Most Merciful run away from the gatherings of liars and wrongdoers. They do not go there and not even stumble near them, because they do not want to encounter evil and protect their religion so that anything may not damage it. Another meaning is that they do not give any false evidence. So again, you can see that Ustaz Zamakhshari has not said that any of the meaning of this word is music. Then Ustaz Mawdudi is being cited, and his translation first is referred to, and the way he translates this verse is that the true servants of the Merciful are those who do not bear witness to any falsehood, and who, when they pass by frivolity, pass by it with dignity. This also has two meanings. One, They do not give evidence in the court of law in regard to a false thing in order to prove it right, when in fact it is a falsehood or at best a doubtful thing. The second meaning is that they have no intention to witness anything which is false, evil, or wicked as spectators. In this sense, every sin and every indecency, every sham and counterfeit act is a falsehood. A true servant of Allah recognizes it as false and shuns it even if it is presented in the seemingly beautiful forms of art. Ustaz Ghamidi himself, of course, has said that as far as his own translation is concerned, his translation or the English translation of his own translation reads, "And the servants of the merciful are those who never participate in any evil, and when they pass by a frivolous thing." The actual word is the word lagh. It refers to the involvements which every upright person regards as ones in which decent and cultural people should not engage. So examples are swearing, unseemly conversation, jokes, and immoral teasing. Now, there's a fourth instance also which is used, or a fourth verse also which is used to negate or to adduce the prohibition of music, and this again is verse 61 of Surah number 53, which is Surah An-Najm, and it says, وَأَنْتُمْ سَامِدُونَ. So, Tabri, while translating the word Samidun, he says, "You show indifference to exemplary tales and reminders in the Quran while turning away from its verses." While citing Zamakhshari, Ustaz Ghamidi says that if you look at Zamakhshari, then what he has said is that once he has cited this verse, he explains it by saying that you boast and show arrogance against the Quran. It is said you make it a means of amusement and entertainment. Another meaning is that some said to their slave lady, "Sing for us." So basically, this is just a connotation of the fact that it could be something that you are doing, but then again, this is a connotation, and that connotation is always situational in a particular setting. It cannot be its meaning per se. As far as Ustaz Maududi is concerned, he translates this verse as, "Will you occupy yourselves simply in merriment?" Two meanings have been given of the word Samidun by the lexicographers. Ibn Abbas, Ikramah, and Abu Ubaidah, the grammarian, are of the view that in the Yemenite tongue, sumud means singing and playing. And the verse alludes that the disbelievers of Mecca, in order to suppress the recitation of the Quran and to divert the people's attention away from it, would start singing in a loud voice. So the other meaning of it given by Ibn Abbas and Mujahid is that sumud means bending down the head out of arrogance. When the disbelievers of Mecca passed by the Prophet, peace be upon him, they would pass by him angrily with their faces lifted up. Raghib Isfahani in his Mufradat also has adopted the same meaning. Accordingly, Qatada has translated Samidun into Ghafilun and Sayyid ibn Jubair as Mu'ridun. So again, you can see that as far as Ustaz Maududi is concerned, he has also said, while referring to these various lexical authorities, none of them refer to the word music as a connotation of Samid per se. As far as Ustaz Ghamidi himself is concerned, he says that his translation would be, "Inebriated with arrogance, you are in a state of indifference. So wake up and prostrate before God and worship Him." It clearly says that as far as the Quran is concerned, Samidun is not something that can be used for music per se. So all in all, these are the four instances in the Quran that have been primarily used by proponents or people who are the proponents of the prohibition of music. And Ustaz Ghamidi has, in this discussion, as I've just pointed out, tried to counter them by saying that none of these instances has ever been used by our ancient authorities, even modern thinkers like Maududi, to actually adduce the prohibition of music. And summing up his view so far, he says that it's basically the wrong use of music that come under question, but music per se is something that cannot be regarded as prohibited in the absolute sense. Inshallah, in our coming episodes on this topic, Ustaz Ghamidi's citation of certain ahadith of the Prophet is going to be made a topic in which 26 narratives of the Prophet will be cited and explained that how all these narratives, in fact, none of them, we can say, goes in favor of the prohibition of music, and if at all there are others who actually point to some of the sound and good uses of music, and the Prophet himself did listen to them or did not stop people who were or women who were singing on certain occasions. So inshallah, that we will take up in our remaining episodes.